and now we will learn how to manage missing data. Why would a data field have missing values? Well, maybe the respondent didn't know the answer to the question of the survey. Or maybe that question did not apply to the respondent. There also could be physical problems with data and copying the data that might destroy some of the values in the field. Sometimes we cannot let missing values affect the analysis. The dot or period key on the keyboard must be the first character in the field entered if you don't want Stata to consider that value when running an analysis. You can add characters after the dot to indicate different reasons for the missing data. You can run a table with or without missing data. For example, let's make two of the observations in the variable gender into missing data, and let's see what happens. We're going to change two observations of female to missing. You can run the table with or without the missing data, but you will see how running it with the missing data affects the percentages that the analysis reports to you. So, let's come back here, let's open up the data field and take a look. I notice that the 18th and 20th value are both female. Now, right now, before I make those values missing, I hit Tab, Gender, and you can see there's 10 male and 10 female. That means it's 50% male, 50% female, and 100% of the data equals 20 observations. That's what the statistics look like now. However, if I reopen the data sheet and I click on observation number 18 and push the period key and hit enter, and I do the same thing for observation number 20, now I have removed two instances or two appearances of the value for female. Now there's only 18 observations in total, and there are two fewer females. So if we come back here and we type Tab, Gender, oh boy, Gender again, now the computer tells us that 100% of the variable gender is only 18 observations. And there's 10 for men and 8 for women. The other two are not reported here at all. But notice 100% became 18. 18 became the new 100%. And notice it's no longer 50-50. It's 55 out of the 18 is male and 44% out of the 18 is female. And the two that are missing are not even considered in the analysis when running the table. However, if I do this, Tab, Gender, then put a comma, space, and then the letter M for missing, now it tells us the real truth about that variable. The truth about that variable gender is that there are 10 observations that are male, there are 8 that are female, and there are 2 that are missing. So that means 10% of the data is missing because 2 out of 20. And the total amount then goes back to being 100% if you run the table with the missing values. You'll notice if you run the table with and without the missing data, the percentages will change accordingly. As I mentioned a moment ago, sometimes you need to clarify the reason why the data is missing. In order to do that, you should put the same dot that I put with one and only one letter next to the dot. And that will help clarify the reason why the data is missing. So, let's make .d represent the response don't know. And let's make .n the response not applicable, which means the question does not apply to the respondent. But there's something important you have to know. You can only have one letter next to the dot for Stata to read it as a missing value. If you try to put two letters next to it, you will get an error message, as I demonstrate. Let's open up this data set and let's take the variable continent. Now, let's do this. Let's make the first three .d, .d, .d. Let's say 3 people did not know what continent they were from when asked as a result of our educational system. And let's make the last 3 .n so that we're telling Stata that the respondent said, .n, the respondent of the last three respondents felt that the question of what continent are you from did not apply to them. Well, maybe they're from Krypton or something, who knows. But now when we run a table with continent, we type tab, space, con-tin, ent. Now notice, because we made 3 of them .d and another 3 .n, that means now there are only 14 observations that make 100% of the variable that we ran the table from. If we ran the same analysis but with the missing data, tab, con, tin, ent, comma, m, and then hit enter, now you can see it's showing us 100% of the observations, which means all 20, and it's breaking it down and explaining that 3 of the missing values were .d, which the code book would explain as don't know, and the other 3 missing values, or .n, which the code book would explain is not applicable. And that's how you do it.